Hi guys, welcome back to LaDenser Crochets. If you're new to this channel, you're welcome. Kindly subscribe if you're not subscribed, and check out all my other videos that are on this channel. In this video, we're going to be creating this off-shoulder ribbed top. I've attached a drawstring to the shoulder part in order to enable the adjusting of the shoulder part so that you can be worn either over the shoulders or off the shoulders, and so that it doesn't fall off. If you do not want to use the drawstring, you can attach an elastic band in order to ensure that the top does not fall off your shoulders. You need the following materials: a medium weight yarn, and I'm using Winter King, a 4mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a darning needle, at least 2 stitch markers, and a measuring tape. Begin with a slip knot and chain 40. The 40 chains represent the length of the top from the waist up to the armpit, or from the armpit up to the waist. So I'm going to chain 40. I have my 40 chains. We measure the length without stretching. So I'm going to measure these without stretching, and it's getting me to about 10 inches, which is the length of the top that I want. Then you're going to block off the last chain, or hold it, then chain one more, and then we're going to yarn over, then put your hook through the chain that you're holding and grab a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all the 3 loops, and that is going to be our first half double crochet. Then you're going to yarn over, put your hook through the next chain, grab a loop, get 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all the 3 for the second half double crochet. Then we're going to yarn over and place a half double crochet into the next chain, place another half double crochet into the next chain, and then each of the chains is going to get 1 half double crochet to the end of row 1. At the end of row 1, you should have 40 half double crochets. So go on, place 1 half double crochet into each of your chains. So there I've worked a total of 40 half double crochets, and I'm at the end of row 1. To begin row 2, you chain 1 and turn your work. And because we want to get a ribbed effect, we're going to be working the back loops only. So normally you would go into this stitch right here that is very visible, but then we're going to be working this loop, which is a back loop, because we want to get a ribbed effect. So yarn over, put your hook through the first back loop right there, then grab a loop and complete a half double crochet. Yarn over, go into the next back loop and do a half double crochet into the next back loop, place a half double crochet, and then we're going to place 1 half double crochet into each of the back loops till we get 40 half double crochets at the end of row 2. This right here is the last half double crochet, so be very careful not to miss it. We are done with row 2. To begin row 3, chain 1 and turn. And row 3 is worked the same way as row 2. You're just going to be working the back loops, and we're going to work as many rows as possible until you get your bust measurement when you slightly stretch your work. Do not stretch out your work too much, because if you do, then you're going to lose the ribbed effect. So just slightly stretch it when you're measuring the bust. I'm in row 3, I'm coming to the end of it. Then we chain 1 and turn to begin row 4. So keep working a back loop, half double crochet into every stitch, and I'll meet you once I have my bust measurements. I've done a total of 64 rows to get me to my bust measurements. As you can see, the rib defect is clearly showing. So what I do is I'll fold these into 2 for easy measuring, so that I can easily show you how to measure. So fold it into 2 like that. Then get your measuring tape. So we're first measuring these without stretching, and it's getting me to 13. 13 multiplied by 2 is 26, but I'm working a bust of 34. And so if I slightly stretch these, it's getting me to 17. And 17 multiplied by 2 is 34. This can still stretch out up to 36. But like I mentioned, you want to slightly stretch your work to ensure that you do not lose the rib defect. Now we're going to connect the 2 ends. And so what you do is, at the end of the last row, you'll need to chain 1 and turn your work. You have your 2 ends together like this. Now we're going to connect using single crochets. So into the first stitch, I'll place my hook into the back loop. Then I'll grab a loop on the other side on the first stitch, then complete a single crochet. Then the back loop on this side and the loop on the other side. You can't tell whether it's a back or a front loop, so I'm going through the both loops on the other side. Do a single crochet, back loop of this side, and the third stitch on the other side, and complete a single crochet. The back loop, the 4th stitch on the other side, do a single crochet. So this is the last stitch, and I've just joined the 2 together, and that part of the joining is done. This is the wrong side, but you can decide to make it the right side. It doesn't matter, whatever side you feel is okay with you, because the hem is not looking that bad, so you can make it the right side. But this is the wrong side for me, so what I do is I pull my hook and turn my work to the right side. Like that. So this is the part where we've joined. You can almost not tell that we've actually joined at this point. So right here, this is the back part of my top where we've joined. Now what you do is you take the number of rows that you had and divide it by 4. Mine was 64 by 4. I'll get 16. So you're going to count 16 rows on this side from this point of joining. 16 rows on one side and 16 rows on the other side. So these are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. So this is my 16th row, and I'm going to mark at the end of the 16th row on that side. Then I'll get my stitch marker and do the same thing on the other side. We have 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. Then I'll mark that other point. Now next we're going to do, this is the top part of the top. Next we're going to do a row of single crochets all the way around the top, beginning from here. So I'm going to start by chaining 1, then into this stitch right here, or into this gap, place a single crochet. Into the next gap we'll do another single crochet. So we're just placing the single crochets onto the gaps. Now this is our first row and it has gotten 1 single crochet. This is our second row, and this second row will get 2 single crochets into that gap on top of the row, 2 single crochets. The third row will get 1 single crochet. The fourth row will get 2 single crochets. Then the next one will get 1. The next one gets 2 single crochets. 1 single crochet into the next row. Then 2 single crochets into the row that follows. I'm working over the tail. The one that follows will get 1. Then the next one will get 2. And we are repeating that pattern. 2 single crochets in one row, 1 single crochet into the next one. So I've just placed 2 single crochets before the stitch marker. So the row that has the stitch marker will get just 1. Yours could be getting 2. It doesn't have to just get 1. So I'll place 1 single crochet into that place where I'd marked. Then I'll put back my stitch marker into that stitch that I've just placed. Then I'll continue alternating now with 2 single crochets. Next, 1 single crochet. 2 single crochets into the next row. 1 single crochet into the next, then 2 single crochets, the next is 1. Keep alternating. When you get to the stitch marker, you'll pull it out and place the single crochets into it and continue working to the point where we've begun. So the stitch marker is on this row. So this row gets 2 single crochets. And then I'll put back the stitch marker into the second single crochet that I've placed. Then I'll continue with a single crochet, then 2 single crochets into the next row. Now finally I have this gap at the end, and into that gap I'll do a single crochet, then do a slip stitch on top of the first single crochet to complete that row. Slip stitch, chain 1. Next we're going to chain 2 more for a total of 3, then turn. Now that will act as our first double crochet into this first stitch. So the stitch that follows will get a double crochet, and we're going to work a double crochet till we have 4 stitches remaining before the stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we're going to work up to this point. So that's the second double crochet. Then the third double crochet, yarn over, put your hook into the stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the remaining 2. So those are the double crochets. Now I'll work my double crochet till I have 4 stitches before the stitch marker. I'm 4 stitches away from the stitch marker, and at that point I'm going to chain 40. After the 40 chains, I'm going to turn my work to this other side. We want to work on the stitch after the stitch marker. Make sure that your chain is not twisted. And then you're going to count 4 stitches after the stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the 5th one, you're going to yarn over and place a double crochet into the 5th stitch after the stitch marker. Like that. And that is that's our first sleeve. Now we're going to continue with double crochets till we have 4 stitch markers, 4 stitches before the other stitch marker. So just 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 4 stitches remaining. So now we count 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is my last stitch, and then chain 40 at that point. After the 40 chains, you need to ensure that you're not twisting your chain, and then go onto the other side of the stitch marker and place a double crochet onto the 5th stitch. So we are counting yarn over, then count 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th, place a double crochet like that, then continue to the end of that row with 1 double crochet into every stitch. I'm placing my last double crochet into the last stitch. Now to complete row, is it row 1? We can call it row 2 actually. We're going to count 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. Onto the 3rd chain, we'll do a slip stitch. Chain 3. This will be our row 2 of the extension after the sleeve part. And now in row 2, we're going to have just 1 double crochet into every stitch, including the chain stitches. The chain stitches will each get 1 double crochet. So that's our first double crochet, the chain 3. So we skip over to the next stitch and place a double crochet. Place a double crochet into all the stitches till you go all around that row. When you get to the chain stitches, place 1 double crochet into every chain stitch. So like I mentioned, each chain is getting a double crochet. I'll keep going with 1 double crochet into every stitch till I get back to the last stitch right here. I'm done with the 1 double crochet into every stitch, and I'm at the end. At the end, as usual, we're going to do a slip stitch onto the 3rd chain. 1, 2, and 3. Do a slip stitch right there. Chain 3. We're going to do the next row of double crochets, but before then, this is what you should have. You actually don't need the stitch markers anymore. You can pull them out. I'll get back the hook and do the next row. I've already chained 3, so next I'm going to turn my work and begin into the next stitch because the first stitch is already worked. This is our first stitch. We move to the next and do a double crochet. I'm going to work a double crochet into every stitch to the end of this row. So just 1 double crochet in every stitch. After this row of double crochet, I'll do another double crochet so that we have a total of 4 rows of double crochet. So this is the first, the second, then we're going to have the fourth. After this one, I'll slip stitch and do a 4th one. Then I'll meet you once I'm done with the 4 rows of double crochets and show you what to do next. This is the top part of the top after the 4 rows. Next, we're going to do a meshy row, and what we do is we begin by chaining 4. I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, and 4, then turn. Actually, we're chaining 5. Add 1 more to get to 5. Your yarn over, skip 2 stitches, 1 and 2 into the 3rd one. Do a double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, 1 and 2 into the 3rd one, double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, do a double crochet into the 3rd stitch after skipping. Then again, we're going to chain 2, skip 2 again, a double crochet into the 3rd stitch, chain 2, and repeat the pattern to the end. At this point, I have 3 stitches remaining, so I'm just going to chain 2 and I'll skip all of them. Then to complete the row, I'll count 1, 2, and 3 into the 3rd chain, put the hook through and do a slip stitch. Then chain 3 and turn your work. Now into the chain 2 stitch, we're going to place 2 double crochets. Then on top of this double crochet, we place 1 double crochet. Then 2 double crochets into the chain 2 stitch. A double crochet on top of the previous double crochet. Then 2 double crochets into the chain 2 stitch. Double crochet on top of the double crochet. Then the 2 double crochets. So each chain 2 stitch is going to get 2 double crochets. Each double crochet is going to get a double crochet, and we're going to repeat that to the end of the row. At the end, I have 2 double crochets into the chain 2 stitch. Then I'll do a slip stitch. Count 3 stitches, 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3. Into the 3rd chain, do a slip stitch to complete that row. That's what we have. Next, we're going to chain 5 and turn. We are doing a row that is the same as this meshy one, and so we are skipping 2 and onto the 3rd stitch, a double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the 3rd stitch, chain 2, then double crochet. So this is basically the same way we did this row right. After the meshy row, I'll do a double crochet row, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Now the very last row is going to be a single crochet row, and this is how we're going to work it. Now you're not going to turn, you're going to work on the same side that you are. You chain one, then we're going to work the single crochets in between the double crochets right here. So this is the first and the second, in between, place a single crochet, then in between the next two, single crochet. So you're just going to go in between each of two double crochets and place a single crochet, and you're going to do this all the way around till you get back to this point. So just a single crochet in between the double crochets. At the end of that row, I've done a slip stitch onto the first single crochet and then cut off the yarn. I lost this part of the recording, so I'm just going to undo at this point, then I show you what to do. I'd already secured this part in place, but I'll undo. So this is the second last gap, place a single crochet, then a single crochet onto the last gap, then you're going to slip stitch on top of the first single crochet, do a slip stitch, then chain one, and then at that point you cut off your yarn, leaving a tail that you're going to weave in, then you pull through and then fasten. So there we are done with the main part of our off-shoulder top. You could wear it like this, but I feel like it's too basic, and therefore I'm going to do a detail that will cover from this point up to around this area of the top. So let's get into the detail. To work the detail, get your yarn and do a slip stitch, and we're going to reattach the yarn. So at this point you're going to turn your work upside down like that, and you're going to get the point where we were working, where our first stitch was, and it is on this line right here. You want to work below the meshy part, and you're going to be working the back loops. So at this point, instead of attaching here, I'll begin at this point, or we can just begin at that exact point where we should begin, or where the first stitch was, and right there you're going to slip stitch to reattach the yarn like that. Then you're going to chain 3. That's our first double crochet. Again, you're going to add one more chain to act as a chain, and we'll go back into that stitch and place another double crochet. We are making V stitches, so that is our first V stitch. For the second one, we're going to skip this stitch, and then in the back loop of this stitch in the middle, so we are skipping this into this one, the back loop, we do a V stitch, a double crochet V stitch. So a double crochet, chain 1, go back into the same stitch and do a double crochet like that. Then yarn over, skip this into the next one, do a double crochet V stitch, double crochet, chain 1, go back into the same stitch with a double crochet. We are skipping this next one into this other stitch, double crochet V stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And this is what we are repeating, and we're going to go all the way around the shoulders till we come back to where we began. Remember, we have 2 visible stitches right here. We are skipping the first one and doing the V stitch into the next visible stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet. Remember, we are working in the back loop only. I'm doing my last V stitch into that last stitch. Then to complete the round, because we are working in rounds, we are counting 1 2 3 into the chain 3, slip stitch, then slip stitch again to get into the middle part where the chain 1 was, then chain 3. That chain 3 acts as our first double crochet. Then you're going to yarn over, go into that same chain and do another double crochet, then chain 2 into the same chain 1 stitch, place 2 more double crochets, and that is our first 2 double crochet shell stitch. Then we're going to skip over to the next V stitch and do a shell stitch, that is a double crochet, another double crochet, chain 2, and another, place 2 more double crochets into the same stitch or into the same chain 1 gap. Then skip over into the next V stitch onto the chain 1 gap, place 2 double crochets, chain 2, then place 2 more double crochets. The next V stitch gets 2 double crochets, chain 2, then 2 more double crochets in the same gap. So now we are creating shells, as you can see, and we're going to repeat this all the way around till we get back to this last V stitch. At the end of round 2, we're going to do a slip stitch, 3 chains up, so 1 2 and 3, 1 2 and 3, 3 is right here. We do our first slip stitch, then the second slip stitch will be on top of the next double crochet, and the third slip stitch onto the chain 2 stitch. We are at the chain 2 gap, so we're going to chain 3. That's our first double crochet. Then we're going to place 2 more double crochets for a total of 3. Then chain 2 into the same gap, we'll do another 3 double crochets. Then we skip over to the next chain or to the next shell on the chain 2 stitch and do 3 double crochets, 1 2 and 3. Then we're going to chain 2 and into the same gap place 3 more double crochets. So we are creating 3 double crochet shell stitches or 3 double crochet shells. So this is the first one, then the second. We move on to the next gap where we place 3 double crochets, 1 2 and 3, chain 2 into the same gap, 3 more double crochets, 1 2 and 3. So these are the shells that we're creating all the way around till we get to the last chain 2 stitch, and I'm going to meet you there to complete the third round and begin the 4th round. At the end of round 3, we slip stitch onto the third chain, 1 2 and 3. Do a slip stitch right there. Then we do a slip stitch onto the next double crochet, onto the third double crochet, and at the gap do a slip stitch 2. We are at that gap, we're going to chain 3. We begin in round 4, and from round 4 up to round 8 we're just going to work the same way we've worked round 3, that is with 3 double crochets. So that is 2 and 3, then chain 2, 1 2 and 3. So the shells, we are not increasing the double crochets anymore. We're just going to be working 3 of them in every chain 2 gap for a total of 8 rows. It doesn't, you don't have to work 8 rows. You can work 6, 7, 10, whatever length you want for this detail. It's up to you. So personally, I'm going to work 8 rows and then I'll be back to show you what I'll be having. After 8 rows, this is what I have, and I'm done with my top, as you can see. I then did a drawstring of 220 chains that I attached on the shoulder part in the last double crochet row, and then I'm going to be using that drawstring to adjust the shoulder part to ensure that the top does not fall off the shoulders. Thank you so much if you stuck around to the end of the tutorial. If you've liked it, kindly leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and see you in the next tutorial.